diğer konuşmacımız Doktor Sandor olacak. Sözü kendilerine bırakıyorum.
Okay. So I present my lecture in English. So my question is
Yes.
that can you see my screen? I have I am sharing my screen. So if you can see my screen, then I go ahead. Thus, I am a historian. I am a research fellow in Hungary. I live in the capital of Hungary, and my topic is the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth and the East European history. Actually, I read Turkish, and last summer I have been to Istanbul, albeit I still don't speak Turkish. So the main problem in my lecture, the main problem is that how can begin a state, a special state in East Europe, that is the Grand Duchy of Lithuania. So, can you see the second slide? If so, we go ahead. Lithuanians in the high Middle Age, thus from the 20th to the 14th century, conquered a huge territory in Eastern Europe. So you can see that this small territory, where is the contemporary Lithuania, as a small Baltic state, was the original homeland of Lithuanians, and they conquered huge territories of the former East Slavic state, the Kyivan Ruś. And then they were united with the Polish kingdom. The Polish kingdom was a small country when they united with the Grand Duchy of Lithuania. So you can see that Kyivan Ruś before the conquest, Lithuania and the Polish kingdom, and then when Lithuania and the Polish kingdom united in personal union, the Lithuanian Grand Duchy was already a huge country. Thus the question is that how and when began the Grand Duchy of Lithuania as a state? So this was the huge country, an enormously huge country of the Grand Duchy of Lithuania, from the Baltic Sea to the Black Sea, and the Polish kingdom with red color in the smaller map was a smaller state, and they were united in a personal union in 1385. And that was the end of the independent Grand Duchy of Lithuania. Also, it remained an independent state as a component of the twin state of the personal union. Thus, the beginning of the Grand Duchy of Lithuania are subject of debate. Lithuanians began their statehood from the coronation of Mindaugas, who was the first and only king of Lithuania. Then Gediminas, the Grand Duke of Lithuania, was the founder of the dynasty of Gediminas, Gediminiečiai in Lithuanian language, and this dynasty then were continued by the dynasty of Jagiello in Poland, the Jagiello dynasty. Thus, in Lithuania, the day of the coronation of Mindaugas is a state holiday. They celebrate it. Also, it is not more than a national tradition. And some English authors published some papers about these problems, that the national heroic narratives in the Baltic states are good source for the national consciousness, and they give much power for the Lithuanian national identification, albeit it doesn't mean that the only king, Mindaugas, began or found the Lithuanian state because he was murdered by his own brothers and soldiers. So he was not such a king as, for instance, kings in Western and Central Europe who really founded the Middle Age feudal states. And then Gediminas, who moved the capital of the Lithuanian Grand Duchy from Turkiye to Vilnius, and he dreamed with an iron. So he dreams a magical dream, and then he founded the recent capital of Lithuania, Vilnius. Albeit it was not the beginning of the Lithuanian Grand Duchy. So, in my opinion, the first point in the history of the Grand Duchy of Lithuania, it was the peace treaty in the 2019, thus in the beginning of the 13th century, when the Grand Duchy of Lithuania and the so-called Principality of Galicia, so one principality of East Slavic peoples, thus after the Mongol conquest of the Kyivan Ruś, there remained some heirs of the Kyivan Ruś, and the western part of the former Kyivan Ruś was the Galician Grand Duchy, and the Galician Grand Duchy thus made a peace treaty with the Grand Duchy of Lithuania, and it is documented in sources. It is documented in the contemporary sources from diplomats from the Middle Age, and some Lithuanian historians published some papers about the peace treaty in 2019. And this is the first time in the history where the existence of the Grand Duchy of Lithuania is already documented. And the Grand Duchy
Excuse me, Dr. Sanders?
I am summarizing. Thus, in my opinion, if a state is such powerful that it can put into a peace treaty, and it is the more powerful state than the partner. Thus, I mean that this state must already exist. And that's why the earliest time when we can begin the existence of the Grand Duchy of Lithuania, that is the peace treaty, and we still must be of the opinion that the Grand Duchy of Lithuania already existed earlier. Thus, I'm of the opinion that the Grand Duchy of Lithuania began such earlier as it can be maintained, and not with the coronation or something else in the history. And at another conference of the ICSAD, I have already published another paper. It's shown in my screen about the peoples, languages, and culture of the Grand Duchy of Lithuania. And this presentation of mine was devoted to the problems of the beginning of the Grand Duchy of Lithuania, because it's a subject of debates. And thus, thank you for your attention. And I try to complete the full text thus for describing these different opinions in historians, that how and when we can begin a history of a particular state. So thanks so much for your attention. Thanks so much for the opportunity to have a part in your conference. Okay, so
Thank you.
I stop my screening.
Thank you, Dr. Sanders. Evet, bir diğer konuşmacımız Azerbaycan'dan Günel Askarova. Kendileri